There will come a moment in your life when everything falls apart, not just a bad day. I'm talking about the moment when you feel like you can't breathe, when the people you counted on go silent, when your mind turns on you, and when even your own reflection looks like a stranger. No one prepares you for that moment. No book, no class, no quote on Instagram. And in that moment, people around you don't know what to say. So they say nothing. Or worse, they say what they think will help, but I'm going to tell you what no one else wills. Because if you're in your weakest moment, or you've been there and never fully came back, this is for you. Not the perfect version of you, not the strong on the outside, dying on the inside version, the real you, the raw you. And if you stay with me for the next few minutes, I promise you'll walk away with something more powerful than motivation. You'll walk away with truth, with clarity, and with a spark, maybe the first one you felt in a long time. So let's begin, not where the world wants us to, but right where you are, in the middle of the mess. You see, most people think that when they're in pain, when life knocks the wind out of them, when the walls cave in, when they're on the floor with nothing left, that it means they failed, that they're weak, that something is wrong with them. But let me tell you something that no one ever told me when I was in my darkest moments. Your pain is not a punishment. It's not the universe turning against you. It's not life being cruel. Pain is a doorway. It's the birthplace of transformation. In your weakest moment, you're not breaking down. You're breaking open. And yeah, it hurts. Of course it does. Growth isn't gentle. Rebirth doesn't come with soft music and warm lighting. It comes with fire. It comes with pressure. It comes with you being stripped of everything that was never truly you to begin with. Your masks, your doubts, your excuses, your old story. Pain is the signal that your current identity, your current level of thinking, your current way of living, it's no longer enough for who you're becoming. That discomfort, that ache inside is life calling you forward. But no one talks about that. They tell you to be strong, to stay positive, to get over it. But how do you get over something you haven't even gone through yet? You've got to stop seeing pain as the enemy. Pain is not there to defeat you. It's there to reveal you, the real you, the powerful you, the version of you that you've buried under years of playing small, living scared, or trying to please everyone but yourself. And sometimes life will tear all of that down for you, not because it hates you, but because it's time. Because it knows you won't take the leap unless you have no other choice. I've been there. I've hit the wall. I've screamed into the night asking, why me? I've wanted to give up, walk away, hide, disappear. But the truth is, those were the moments that shaped me more than any success ever could. Those moments taught me to dig, to fight, to find that something inside that no one could give me and no one could take away. You can't become who you're meant to be without walking through some fire. You can't access your next level without shedding the skin of who you used to be. That's what pain does. It burns off what no longer serves you. It strips you down to the core. And then, if you let it, it builds you back stronger, clearer, more focused, more real. So if you're in pain right now, don't run from it. Lean in. Listen, there's wisdom in your wounds. There's power in the pressure. There's beauty in the breaking. Because what feels like the end is often the beginning. When you're at your lowest, your mind becomes the loudest. It doesn't whisper doubts. It screams them. You hear that voice that says, you're not enough, that you've messed up too many times, that it's too late, you've gone too far, or you'll never recover. And because you're exhausted, because you're vulnerable, you start to believe it. You start to confuse those thoughts with truth. But here's what no one tells you. Your mind will lie to you when you're weak. It's not because it's broken, it's doing its job. Your mind is wired for protection, not progress. It wants to keep you safe, not strong. So in your lowest moments, it tries to pull you back into what's familiar, even if what's familiar is pain, self-doubt, or paralysis. It'll try to convince you that staying down is easier than standing up. It tells you, don't get hurt again. Don't trust again. Don't try again. But underneath all that noise, underneath the fear and the panic and the shame, there's another voice. It's quieter. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It doesn't manipulate. It just knows. That voice is your soul. And your soul doesn't care about your mistakes. It's not counting your failures. It's not worried about your reputation or your timeline or the opinions of people who stopped showing up when you needed them most. Your soul is only interested in truth, in alignment, in growth. It knows who you are and who you're meant to be, and it never forgets. The problem is, when the mind is loud and the soul is quiet, most people choose the voice they hear first. But strength comes from learning to hear the whisper underneath the scream. It comes from pausing long enough to feel what's real instead of reacting to what's loud. Because not every thought you have is true. Not every fear you feel is real. Your mind is a tool, not a master. And in your weakest moments, you have to decide who's in charge. That's the test. Can you recognize when your thoughts are just echoes of your old pain? Can you hear your soul calling you forward while your mind begs you to stay put? That's where real transformation begins. Not when everything's going well, but when everything's falling apart and you still choose to believe in the part of you that remembers who you are. You've got that voice inside you. Everyone does. But you've got to get quiet enough to hear it. You've got to get still. You've got to lean into that discomfort, not run from it. Because if you only ever listen to your mind, you'll live in fear. But if you start listening to your soul, you'll rise. Even in your darkest hour. And sometimes that quiet whisper is the loudest truth you'll ever hear. You know, the world loves to celebrate strength. We see it everywhere, on stages and headlines and social media posts where people share their victories, their highlights, their perfect moments. We admire those who appear unstoppable, unbreakable, who seem to glide effortlessly through life's challenges. But here's what no one ever shows you. Behind every success, behind every trophy or triumph, there is a shadow season. A time when the same person was struggling, doubting, and feeling utterly lost. Nobody tells you about those long, dark nights filled with tears that no one sees. Nobody shares the hours spent wrestling with fear, battling exhaustion, or the moments when giving up felt like the only option. And yet, it's in those hidden struggles, those unseen battles, that true growth is forged. Growth doesn't happen under the spotlight. It happens in the shadows. In the quiet, painful, uncertain times when you're tempted to quit but choose to keep going anyway. It's easy to admire strength when it's polished and put together. It's easy to cheer when the finish line is crossed. But what takes courage, real courage, is showing up when you're broken, when you can barely stand, when your heart is heavy and your mind is crowded with doubt. That's when your character is built. That's when your resilience is tested. That's when the seeds of your next level are planted. I want you to understand that your shadow season is not your enemy. It's not a punishment or a sign you're weak. It's the preparation zone. It's the workshop where the best version of you is being crafted, even if you can't see it yet. Like a seed buried in the dark earth, you're growing roots. You're building strength beneath the surface. You're gathering energy for the moment you'll break through the soil and rise into the light. This means you don't have to have it all figured out right now. You don't need to be fixed or ready. What you need is to keep showing up. Even if that means taking one small step at a time, trust that the struggle you're in is doing something in you. Even if you don't feel it today. That struggle is your teacher, your forge, your silent partner. Remember, every story of success you admire is filled with chapters no one ever talks about. The doubts, the mistakes, the failures, the loneliness. They're all part of the process. And if you're willing to embrace those hard seasons instead of running from them, you'll develop a strength that's unshakable because it's rooted in experience, in truth, in survival. So don't just look for the highlight reel. Respect the grind. Honor your shadow season, because that's where the real work is done. The work that transforms pain into power, fear into faith, and weakness into unstoppable strength. And the world will see your rise. But only because you first endured your fall. When you're in your weakest moment, clarity often feels like a luxury you can't afford. Your mind is spinning, your heart is heavy, and you want to scream. What do I do now? But here's a truth that most people never tell you. Transformation doesn't begin with a perfect plan. It begins with a decision that says, I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to settle for this pain. I'm going to choose something different. Too many people get stuck waiting for the roadmap to appear, waiting for every step to be clear, waiting for the stars to align perfectly. But life doesn't work that way. The journey of change, especially when you're at your lowest, is messy, it's uncertain, and if you wait for certainty, you'll never move. You'll never rise. The real power lies in making a decision right here, right now, to change direction. It doesn't mean you know how. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. It just means you decide you will not remain a prisoner of your current circumstance. That decision creates momentum. It's the spark that ignites movement. And once you move, clarity begins to show up in the process. Action creates direction. Movement births clarity. When you're stuck, frozen by fear or confusion, you're feeding the illusion that you need perfect clarity to act. But in reality, clarity comes after you start walking. It comes when you step into the unknown with courage, when you trust yourself enough to take that first shaky step. Think about this. When a plane takes off, it doesn't have a perfect view of the entire route. It just needs enough confidence to leave the runway and get airborne. Once it's flying, it can adjust course, navigate storms, and correct its path. Your life works the same way. You don't need a perfect plan to take off. You just need a decision to rise and the willingness to act. So, in your weakest moment, don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for the fear to vanish or the answers to come knocking. Decide you will move forward anyway. Decide that no matter how small the step, you will take it. Because even the smallest step forward breaks the chains of paralysis. And as you begin to move, you'll start to see things you couldn't see before. Opportunities will appear. Strength you didn't know you had will surface. People who can help will show up. Doors will open, not because the path was clear from the start, but because you dared to walk it. Remember, your future is created not by the clarity you have today, but by the decisions you make to keep going, to keep growing, to keep believing in yourself, even when the way forward feels invisible. Position to rise is more powerful than any plan. Choose that first, then trust the process will follow. When you're at your lowest, the instinct is often to pull away from others, to hide, to protect yourself from being seen as weak, vulnerable, or broken. You think you have to go through it alone, that asking for help is a sign of failure. But here's the truth that many don't tell you. You're not meant to do this alone. None of us are. Strength isn't about isolation. It's about connection. It's about showing up authentically and letting others in, even when it feels terrifying. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness. But real courage, the kind that transforms you, comes from having the guts to be honest with yourself and with the people around you. It's about dropping the mask, the one you wear to hide your pain and pretend you have it all together. Because the moment you drop that mask, you create space for healing and support. You invite the possibility that you don't have to carry the weight alone. Now, I know this is easier said than done. Asking for help can feel like admitting defeat. It can stir up fears of rejection or judgment. But the truth is, when you reach out, you tap into a power far greater than what you can muster on your own. You connect with people who want to see you rise, who want to help carry your burden, who believe in you even when you struggle to believe in yourself. But here's the catch. You have to go first. You have to be the one who takes that first step toward openness. You have to be brave enough to say, this is where I'm at. I'm not okay right now. And when you do, you'll find that the world is ready to catch you. Maybe not in the way you expect, but in the way you need. It's not about being weak. It's about being real. And being real is what creates deep, meaningful connections that fuel your comeback. When you let others see your humanity, you build bridges of trust and love, and those bridges will carry you through the toughest storms. So if you're carrying the weight alone, wondering if anyone else can understand your pain, know this: you don't have to. You're stronger when you share the load. You're more whole when you allow others to walk beside you. The power of connection is one of the greatest, most overlooked keys to rising from your weakest moment. You don't have to wait for someone else to reach out. You can take the first step. And when you do, you'll discover that vulnerability is not a crack in your armor. It's the door to your greatest strength. And strength isn't built in silence. It's built in the shared stories, the honest conversations, and the willingness to lean on one another when everything falls apart, when you hit the lowest point you've ever known. It's easy to believe that this moment defines you, that this moment is who you are now. But I want you to understand something deeply. Your breakdown is not your identity. It is simply a moment in your story, not the whole story. What will define you is not the fall, but the rise. It's not the darkness you face, but the light you choose to step into after. You see, the world loves to talk about the breakdowns, the moments of failure, the times you lost control, the days when you felt invisible and worthless. But rarely does anyone talk about what comes next, what comes after the collapse, because that's where the real courage lives. That's where the real magic happens. The rise after the fall is the moment that separates those who give up from those who grow beyond their limit. In that moment, when you feel weak, scared, and uncertain, you have a choice. You can stay there, you can let that moment consume you, or you can decide, even if it's just a tiny decision, a whisper inside, to get back up, to keep moving forward, step by step, even when you don't see the whole path. Because rising doesn't mean you have to be perfect or strong all at once. It means showing up day after day and doing what you can with what you have. The rise is messy. It's filled with setbacks, doubts, and fears, but it's also filled with breakthroughs, new strength, and deeper wisdom. When you rise, you are not just returning to where you were before. You are becoming someone new, someone stronger, wiser, and more alive. You are rewriting your story, not letting the lowest chapter become the final one. And here's the powerful part. Everyone has this rise inside them. No matter how far down you've fallen, no matter how broken you feel, there's a part of you that remembers who you truly are. That part is waiting, ready to ignite. The rise doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as making a decision to try again tomorrow, to take one more step when you think you can't, to believe just a little that there's something better waiting for you on the other side. Don't let your weakest moment become your identity. Let it be the catalyst for your transformation. Because what defines you is not the break, it's the comeback. Not the pain, it's the purpose you discover in spite of it. Not the fall, it's the rise you choose to make. And that rise, that's where your true strength lives.